Hi friends, welcome back. In a previous lesson, we learned more about transversals, or we learned about transversals. We're going to learn a little bit more now about transversals with parallel lines instead of just any other two or more lines. So transversals with parallel lines. The first thing that we want to talk about are the alternate exterior and alternate interior. You want to determine, is it on the same side or alternate side of your transversal, and then is it on the inside or outside? And so exterior and interior, those guys are going to be congruent. So you're going to want to write that down. Consecutive interior and exterior, those are supplementary. And a friendly reminder, supplementary means 100, it totals up to 180 degrees. Looking at this guy, corresponding angles. Now these ones are on the same side. And I know that I said that consecutive or same side is 180 supplementary, same side supplementary. But in this case, corresponding angles, even though they're on the same side, they're going to be congruent, because if we picked this dot up and we placed it, or I guess this corner, we placed it right down here, you would see the green would land on the green. So they'd be the exact same. Here's what you want to make sure you write down in your notebook. Alternate and corresponding, they're going to be congruent. That's the sign for congruent. Consecutive, aka same side, those are supplementary, and don't forget that's 180 degrees. Okay, so now let's put some of this into action. The first thing that we are going to do is talk about this guy right here. Okay, so we know that N is parallel to P. So here's N, here's P. I'm going to use a little bit of a red so that you can see this. N is parallel to P, and then we know that Q is perpendicular to P. So that means Q here is perpendicular to P. So that means it creates a 90-degree angle. Good 90-degree angle. Okay, and then we know CD is parallel to AB. So we're going to do a little double arrow there, double arrow there. That way it indicates, hey, these two things are parallel and these two are parallel, but not to each other. And then the measure of angle 1 is 125 degrees. So that's this guy right here, 125 degrees. Okay, well, straight away we can identify a few things. One is, because this is 90 degrees here, because these two lines are parallel and they're cut by a transversal, and again, don't assume lines are parallel, you need to be told that. But these two lines here are cut by a transversal, which means that this 90-degree angle D right in here is opposite or alternate interior angles with angle 2. So this is also going to be 90 degrees right in here, because those are alternate interior. It also means 5 and 6 is going to total up to 90 degrees, as is 3 and 7. Okay, so now let's look at 125 here. So this 125, we have these two parallel lines cut by this transversal of CD. That means 1 and angle 5 are on the same side on the inside, so they're in consecutive interior angles, which means 1 and 5 are going to add up to 180 degrees. So if we look at 5, if we've got 180 minus 125, we would get 55 degrees, 55 degrees. Okay, so now let's look at this. Since we know 5 and 6 are going to be 90 degrees, because again, perpendicular creates at least two right angles, the 5 and 6 are going to be, so if we take 90 degrees and we minus our 55, we end up with 35 degrees for 6. Okay, well, because these two lines are parallel and they're cut by this transversal, angle 6 and angle 3 are alternate interior angles. So alternate interior angles, again, are going to be congruent. So they're going to be 35 degrees. Good. And then we have for this, because we also know that this is 90 degrees, this has to be 90 degrees here, because again, they're perpendicular. So we know that 7 and 3 are going to total up to 90 degrees, which makes this one 55. Okay, because angle 7 is 55 degrees, angle 4 and angle 7 are cut by this transversal here. They are consecutive interior angles, which means they are supplementary. So 7 and 4 have to total to 180 as well. That's going to be 125. Okay, let's try another. Okay, so let's take a look at this one now. We know the measure of angle 2 is 98 degrees. We know the measure of angle 3 is 23 degrees. And then we know the measure of angle 8 is going to be 70 degrees. All right, so how can we find the measure of these other angles? Well, straight away, I know that angle 1 and angle 2 create a linear pair, because they create a line here. Now we know this line is parallel to this line, because the arrows indicate that. And so this transversal here, For 1 and 2, that creates a linear pair, which will help us with this transversal. So a linear pair is 180 degrees. So that means angle 1 is going to be 82 degrees, because 98 degrees will give us 180 degrees. Now, as I was saying, that transversal here, if you take a look at number 2 and number 5, those are corresponding angles. And you remember, corresponding angles are congruent. So we know angle 5 is going to be 98 degrees. Okay, so let's take a look at these guys here. We know that this one is going to be 23 degrees. So we have an angle 5. So let's look at angle 4 here. What we can do is to find angle 4, it's again 180 degrees to make this flat line here. It's not a linear pair because there's 3 of them. So if we do 180 minus 98 minus 23, we end up with 59 degrees. Okay, so now that we have this as 59 degrees, you'll see that again these parallel lines are cut by this transversal right here, meaning that angle 4 is going to be the same as this angle 7 here. So angle 7 here would be 59 degrees. Angle 4 and then angle 7. Now, angle 3 and angle 8 don't match up because these lines are not parallel. So it's a different, it would be a different way of cutting those. So that's a very common mistake. That's why I wanted to point that out. Okay, so for number 6 here, again, all of these have to add up to 180 degrees, which makes, so we've got 59, 70, that makes 6, 51 degrees. 51 degrees. Okay, now that we know 6 is 51, again, we have these parallel lines here that are cut by this transversal along here. 51, angle 6 and angle 9 are going to be corresponding angles, which makes this 51 degrees. Again, 7 and 8 are corresponding with 10, or you can do the linear pair to make it 180. Either way, we end up with 70 degrees, let's see, 180 minus 51 is going to be 129. I messed that up earlier. 129, and that's the same as 59, and 70 would give us 129 degrees as well. So hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let your teacher know. Otherwise, we will see you next time.